last time on Oz Hour?
Okay, last time they were flying on that weird contraption with wings and that they made so horribly. They got way too far, and then they were in like the real world where there's like pointy roofs and stuff. And then they crash landed in a nest with these the jackdaws, I think. They're like the crows, and then they get attacked by them, and then they leave them alone, and then they use these weird wishing pills that they had to get themselves out of there. Then they leave, and then then they leave, and now they're with the Glenda lady, and they're like, oh, we gotta go get Mombi and all these other people, so let's go there. And then they go there, and they confront Ginger and Mombi, and then Mombi's like, I'm not going with you guys. And so then they go to look for her, and they end up grabbing a rose, and it happens to be Mombi.
Hi there, and welcome to Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. With the help of some alcohol, we will be discussing each of the 14 books in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz series.
Today, we will be discussing chapters 22 through 24 and finishing book 2, The Marvelous Land of Oz.
We're your hosts, Blake Stone
And Wyatt Swangham.
And joining us is our resident Oz initiate, Hannah Aguirre.
Hello.
Hello.
Exotic.
Just from just across the pond. So Hannah just played last time on, and she did all right. It took her about 59 seconds out of 30 to cover it. And what you got wrong, or what you missed, just totally glossed over and didn't care about at all, was the name of the thing they're flying on is the Gump. Stop calling him the thing. It's rude. The Woggle Bug is the only one who can take the wishing pills. Glinda reveals that there's a princess named Ozma who's thrown... the emeralds, who actually owns everything.
And Blake, you did not do that well on last time on. It took you about 25 seconds to not quite get it right.
Also, just one more thing. Mombi switches bodies with Jalea Jam, and Glinda is pissed. And yeah, so we're all doing great.
We figured it out.
I'm going to say you lost today. I'm sorry.
I can't think of a single time Hannah's won, to be honest.
I remember one.
Which was it?
It was a good day.
Remember we baked her that pie?
All right.
Well, before we started recording, Wyatt went ahead and whipped us up some cocktails. What are we drinking?
Tonight we are drinking the Potion of Dreamless Sleep, the recipe for which can be found on our Instagram at OzHour Podcast. It is essentially a sleepy time tea, meaning it has no caffeine and is herbal, and it has whiskey and lemon and stuff in it. And I think it's going to be pretty strong. I actually haven't tasted it yet.
Oh my god, we have to slurp this thing.
It'll be good for your belly.
Here we go. Fire. Murder.
Book 2, The Marvelous Land of Oz. Chapter 22, The Transformation of Old Mombi.
So, as you know, where we left off, the Tin Woodman, he's just like, I love flowers. And he
Apparently
plucks Mombi and puts her in his buttonhole.
Yeah. And at first, Mombi is just super...
Literally never heard of the Tin Man doing anything like that before, but...
Also...
That's fine.
It brings the question, so not only does the Tin Woodman sometimes have a silver whistle around his neck to summon the Queen of the Field Mice,
right.
he also now has a
golden...
a diamond necklace that he got from the jackdaw's nest, and now in his buttonhole he puts the head of a rose. So
is he just like a video game
character? He really has a lot he's carrying on him.
Is he like Bender, where he just like pulls out like random shit from
whatever's convenient from his front patch? Sometimes
it just plops out. It's like when like the Veggie Tales, like them having hands.
Oh yeah, it's just like we need these right now.
Yeah, so it's gonna appear like we have them
from behind them.
That gave me some strong intrusive memories. So,
but Mombi gets herself plucked. Get plucked, Mombi, and she's super nervous at first, but she realizes that she's just hidden on the Tin Woodman's breast, and as she's just as hidden on his breast as she was on the bush.
Yeah.
So,
well, what does that mean now? It's like she lives her life as a rose.
Well, no, because now that she's out of the walls of the Emerald City, she's not trapped by them, so she can actually escape.
Yeah, because her concern before was like she can't get out of there without them seeing, but now she is out of there. But
the Tin Woodsman doesn't sleep.
Okay, that actually brings a question that I
point.
did not even think about that we're going to get to in just a second.
Oh, shit.
That's insane that neither of us thought of that.
Yeah, that did not cross my mind.
Really?
Because And yes, I don't know why it didn't.
And the scarecrow.
Yes. So there should have been many undying, immortal, sleepless beings watching that rose. But granted, they didn't know it was a rose. But point being, she decides, you know what? Like, because in theory, she could have just she could have just like fallen out if she wanted to, probably, and like run away. But she was like, you know what? I'm going to stick around and enjoy them, like, enjoy the humiliation of Glinda, because she wanted to get me and she couldn't, and she thinks she's so powerful. So she's like, I'm going to stick around and see this in the morning.
She's a petty bitch.
But no,
Glinda is like, I cannot believe that hag bested me.
Yeah, Glinda's also pissed.
Yeah, everyone's mad.
Oh my God.
My criticism here is that Mombi's smarter than that. Yes, Mombi's like a bitch, and she's like, and I don't use that word for women usually, but she is. She's horrible, and she enslaved
I don't
people
see
and
no
Tip.
woman.
Exactly. But I'm just like, but she's smarter than that, and I know that. I know she should be like, I should get the fuck out of here, but she doesn't. And so yeah, they all go to sleep. Which you're right. The Tin Woodman should not go to sleep. It literally says that she sits like next to them all in the tent.
He takes her off and puts her up and puts her back on the next morning.
I guess the only thing is, though, that the Tin Woodman, when he was in the Emerald City for the first time ever in the last book, at night, he just like laid on the bed and he did like flex his joints and kind of stretch and stuff because he remembers being a human. So maybe he's doing that.
Maybe he pretend sleeps.
And he might as well, honestly. Yeah, it's like everyone else is sleeping. He shouldn't be banging around. And she wasn't moving. She's still a rose. So I guess there is no danger. But that's an interesting choice.
So the next morning, the Scarecrow's like, okay, like, let's just win back the city, and then let's go find Ozma afterward. And Glinda's like, yeah, great idea, but I already told Ginger that, like, I'm not going to fight them. I'm not going to make bad on them.
Yeah, like, she agreed, like, when Ginger said, okay, I'll let you come search the whole city, but if you don't find it by sundown, you have to go and, like, don't, like, leave me the fuck alone. And Glinda... I mean, I won't say pompously. I don't like. Of course, she should have been able to find fucking Mombi, but she didn't. So I get the thought process, but you know, you can like do an untruth once on accident and be fine. I don't know. Yeah. I might have jumped back in, but also important to note that currently they are in Glinda's like main tent, you know, where like she has her nice tent set up, and it's just like her and like the crew, and the rose is on like the Tin Woodman's. Pretty much, yeah. It's like silk curtains and like there's a bathtub.
She has an air mattress.
Yeah,
she does. Yeah, before that even exists, she has like a memory foam mattress.
She figured it out.
But the Tin Woodman, he's like, hey, like, you know what? Why don't you guys all come back to the West with me? Like, I'll host you, and I'll have you nickel plated if you want, and like just come on and join me. And like he's doing this big like to do, and while he's talking, Glinda notices that the rose on his chest is like shivering, and she's like, oh bitch. Yeah, she's like, that doesn't seem quite right. Also, you'd think that rose would have drawn a lot of attention already. I know, nobody was like,
seemingly
oh,
it did not.
Nick, you look fabulous. And he's like, don't I know it, darling?
Maybe alongside the whistle that's always on his chest, there's also always a flower. Maybe we just don't know that, but there's always a flower there, so it's
like
not crazy.
Once the flower dies, he replaces it with a new flower.
Picks up a new one.
Oh my god. And this one probably never would have wilted.
Yeah, it would have never. But apparently,
he would have loved
Glinda
that.
saw it shivering.
Yeah, it's like trembling a little, and yeah, she immediately is like, that must be fucking Mombi. But in the same moment,
what would you do if you saw a rose shiver?
I'd be like, oh, there must be a draft.
I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. I would look away.
Yeah, you would be like,
draft.
Oh, that's Mombi.
The clothes dryer is going in the other room, and it's making those two glasses in the cupboard clink together, and the flowers are shivering.
You're trying to find anything to rationalize that.
Glinda is like the most powerful sorceress ever. That's why she's like so pissed off that they didn't find Mombi. So like,
so she knows about...
I feel like she's so insulted that they didn't find Mombi, that Mombi bested her, that she's literally so paranoid. She's like looking at the sawhorse. She's like, you're Mombi.
Yeah.
She's under the pillows.
And she knows that she does like witch shit. So
yeah.
She's like, she's in my hair. She's in my, get out of my hair.
Bugs.
But yes.
And Mombi sees Glinda staring.
So as Mombi is realizing she's been discovered, she's like, okay, you know what? I'm really good at transformations. Like, and if you think about it, she did transform herself into a rose. She threatened to transform Tip into a granite statue.
She needed a potion for that.
Oh, that's true. But she made it. But
True.
You're right though. But she also transformed Jalea Jam into herself. So like
That's true. Actually,
she has a long history.
I shouldn't have even called you out for that because it's not about how she does the transformation. It's just that transformations are her fucking thing.
And also, it's like, I don't think L. Frank Baum is paying attention to any of that.
Oh, never.
No. This is a convenience.
If you couldn't even remember that the Tin Man doesn't sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some serious problems.
And that Oz didn't build, the fucking
the wizard didn't build Oz.
Yeah.
Well,
he didn't remember like the basic fundamentals of the book that he wrote 2 years ago.
Anyone can do what they want in Oz.
if nothing else, that is true. But Mombi decides to use her transformation powers, and she takes the form of a shadow. She takes
Peter
the form
Pan?
of a shadow, pretty much, yes, and she just glides across the wall toward the exit. And that's some fucking serious magic, right?
That's
to spontaneously turn into a shadow.
That's demons. That's like a scene from Passion of the Christ.
That's
That's like
kinda scary.
Voldemort. Like
Compassion of the Christ. That's not.
some crazy shit happened
That
in
is
there.
a demonic horror. That's what I would describe that movie as.
So when Mombi the Shadow starts running across the wall toward the door, Glinda, she doesn't say anything to anybody. She
Turn
just
the lights out.
She runs to the door. Turn the lights out. Sorry. But Glinda just runs to the door and like pinches like the tent door shut so that Mombi can't get through.
She seals it
And-
somehow.
And everyone's like,
bitch
what
is mad.
the
She kn-
fuck?
no one knows what's going on.
And she's just like, shut up. Mombi is in here. Like literally. I mean, that's not an exact quote, but if you translated that through to current
Oh
vernacular,
my God, I love this Glinda.
I know.
I never
God.
knew she was able.
Oh,
I know.
don't just wait,
in the last book, we didn't even see her stand up to her feet, I don't think. So it's like, God, she's cool.
So Glinda has like sealed the door. The shadow can't get out. I'm not going to ask about how that works, but Mombi realizes she can't get out. So she's like, okay, I'm going to turn into a black ant, specifically a black ant for whatever reason. And she's going to try and like crawl through a little crack to try and escape. So
And
she's still just trying to get the fuck out of
They're
there.
in a tent, so like the floor is the ground.
Well, I was thinking actually, since it's Glinda's tent, the floor would be also like a silk, like or like a rug or
it's,
something.
like, nice.
But I agree, you should, no matter what, it's not going to be a modern day style tent where it's like stitched together on the sides. I don't think. Maybe I'm projecting like an incorrect view of antiquity.
I don't know. I picture it very tall and very wide, but I do picture it like on the grass.
I imagine it being the size of this living room, which is
It's
probably
giving me like
10 by 15.
I think we might have said this last episode, but it is giving me Narnia. So I'm thinking
Yes.
that there
Oh,
might
yes.
be like maybe a rug or
Yeah, just like
and,
some
like,
kind of ground covering.
Cushions and
But
shit.
something.
yeah. Well, it's actually there. We'll get later, but it's pretty luxurious. But I would think an ant would be able to get out, but it can't.
No, nothing gets past Glinda, not even an ant.
No, and namely because they're like right next to the gate of the Emerald City, so they're like on this like smooth granite surface. So there's no little cracks or crevices for the ant to hide in. Mombi in ant form kind of scrambles around, but she can't get out. She can't get out, and she starts freaking out.
And Glinda's like, there you are.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh yeah. She tries to snatch her up.
yeah, she's like, come here, you little. Have you ever tried to pick an ant up before?
I have actually.
That's so hard.
Yeah, it's not
ju-
easy.
Just imagine the camera angle panning from like down at Mombi's angle where this giant hand is coming down, and then you get the zoom out of everyone just watching Glinda like scrounging on the ground trying to find an ant.
Literally, I
I'm
would
here
just like
for it.
flick her because they don't want to kill her because they need her alive for information. But I just like flick her, incapacitate her, and then get her transformed back.
Find her. Yeah. They don't do that.
But yeah, Glinda's like, she goes for the ant, and Mombi's like, oh no, you don't, and she turns into a big griffin and just tears out the side of the tent.
She turns into a griffin.
She's turning into too many things. My note's a little overwhelming.
You'll have to edit it down later. But my first of all, it's fucking cool that Mombi can just do all this magic, like that she's so powerful, which makes enough sense. I mean, she's done a lot of like crazy shit through this book that I'm like, okay, she knows magic, but just to know that she can change from a woman to a little girl and then back, and then to a rose, and then a shadow, and then an ant, and then to a fucking griffin.
Honestly,
A shadow I've never heard of, so that's pretty insane.
But the thing about the griffin, why didn't she do that earlier? Why didn't she turn into a griffin the minute that she saw Glinda's forces approaching?
That
Why didn't
should
she-
have been
and
the
flown
first thing.
Why didn't when she was like, "Oh, I'm a rose. Oh, I've been discovered." Why didn't she do griffin then? But
Well, also, I was gonna say that her when she was trapped in the Emerald City, she could have just become a griffin and flew off. But I don't think her griffin flies.
I don't think so based on what's about to happen. But what I
That's
will
a little
say,
annoying.
she could have turned into a shadow when she was stuck there. She could have turned into an ant and just hidden in a crevice.
But she does turn into a griffin eventually, which is fucking badass.
Yes.
And she takes off, and Glinda's like, "Oh no, you don't!" And she gets on the sawhorse, and she's like, "If you were ever gonna prove to anyone you're a horse, you do it now, motherfucker!" And he's like,
Oh my god. Well, he's happy to be alive today, isn't he?
Literally, she says, "Now you shall prove that you have a right to be alive."
Oh my god.
Run
"Run like the wind,
Yes,
bullseye!"
Glenda.
It's
Glenda's getting the
crazy.
potential out of everyone.
Yeah.
She is, and it's kind of heartwarming because the sawhorse isn't like an idiot. He's made of wood, but
He's just such a piece of shit.
Honestly, if anything, I want her to fucking do a number on Jack.
yeah.
Jack is the most annoying, but the sawhorse is genuinely like rude in spirit.
I guess
Yeah,
that's true.
he's got a
But
mean
Jack just
spirit.
really annoys me. I'm like sick and tired of your rotten head.
He's a baby.
Ugh.
He'll rot soon. Don't worry.
But the rest of the gang, after Glinda and the sawhorse take off after the griffin, the rest of the gang's like, "Come on, guys!" And they get into the back of the Gump and follow them.
And they're way up in the sky, and they just see these two little specks, two little dots, just racing across the meadow, so fast that eventually they can't even keep up, and the two specks, the griffin and Glinda sawhorse, eventually just like disappear over the horizon, like they leave their line of sight.
Yeah, and then the Scarecrow's like, "Guys, why are we acting like we have to keep up with them? Oz is so small. They're gonna get to the Deadly Desert. We'll just catch up with them there."
So they kind of chill, and then after an hour goes by, the griffin / Mombi is starting to get super tired. She's like, "Oh, I'm like super old. I'm in a body I'm not used to, and I'm like running across Oz."
Running, not flying.
Yeah, running.
Not really,
Specifically.
I just don't even want to see a griffin run.
That sounds weird.
Wait, griffin. Okay, can we? It's an eagle.
It has
and
head of an eagle and wings, like
Eagle,
I think,
lion, demon thing.
Yeah, like
lion. That's what it
lion-
is.
lion
Okay.
legs.
I'm picturing
I
it now.
think it's two
So it doesn't
things.
look so strange running, but still.
Yeah, it's
If
a
I
lot,
see a
though.
griffin, I'm gonna be like, "Why are you not flying?"
Exactly. If I saw a hawk running, I'd be like, "Shouldn't you be flying
Yeah,
here?"
what are you, a chicken?
But it is running. But the sawhorse never gets tired. The sawhorse is tireless. So
He's animated wood.
yeah, he is just running and running, and
That's not
Glinda
right.
is just like, yeah,
Yeah!
she's going off in her best like Western
She's actually
style.
having so much fun. She
Yeah.
doesn't even realize she's chasing anyone.
Yeah, she forgot why she was there.
But yeah, Mombi's getting exhausted, like Wyatt said, because she's old. And then she ends up running on the sands of what I was informed was a deadly desert that surrounds Oz that's supposed to destroy you if you walk on it. But apparently that's not true today. So she's running on that and running on sand. You know how exhausting that is. So she just face plants.
She collapses.
Oh.
Yeah. As a griffin, though, still, for the moment. Because then Glinda is right on her ass. She gets up to her. She pulls this long golden thread out of her girdle, turns it into a lasso, and then she lassos the griffin around the neck. And the griffin turns back into Mombi. And Mombi's just pissed, and she's glaring up at her, and also
Bet
panting
she wished
and
she escaped
vomiting.
sooner.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, in the night.
She had so many
Turn
chances
into a
to get
shadow
the fuck
in the
out
night.
of there.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Don't get me started. But now Glinda has Mombi as her prisoner, and that is the end of chapter 22, which is called The Transformation of Old Mombi. And Blake, what would you call that?
Mine's actually really similar to the actual title, too. Mine's Mighty Morphin Mombi.
Okay. Chapter 23, Princess Ozma of Oz. So this chapter's title is obviously a pretty loaded question, given that what we're here for is to find out who Ozma is. That's why we've captured Mombi. And Hannah, just a quick guest survey / audience survey if anyone wants to,
Call
figure it
in
out.
at 555-8929.
I almost just gave my office phone number as a curiosity, but I won't do that. Hannah, who or where or what do you think Ozma is going to be? What are your expectations?
Oh,
Like, where is she at right now?
oh, where's she at?
Yeah.
Like in Oz?
Oh,
Who
good
knows?
question.
She's gonna come from somewhere, and she's gonna tell us all about it. But what do you think?
What's your thoughts on who and where she is? I guess mainly where is the main question.
Where? Okay. Okay. I know, because I feel like I know most of the places in Oz. There's
Many.
east, west, south, and north.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all four.
Like most places.
I don't know. Chicago.
Ooh, well, we
That's
were in the real
closer
world
than you
earlier.
might think.
Oh
to
my
be
gosh.
honest. Maybe, but okay, just a thought experiment
Windy
to throw
City.
out there. Oh, I love Seattle.
So, Glinda has thrown her lasso around Mombi, and it turns Mombi back, and Glinda is like, Mombi, give up, catch your breath, submit to this interrogation. Like, you're my prisoner. I have you. Stop. Like, please stop.
Yeah, she's like, don't even struggle. Like, you can't do anything while you're in my like golden lasso. So Mombi is just panting and like I imagine Mommy just being like drenched in sweat, vomit, like dry heaving like into the sand.
You may have been a griffin, but that was still you running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's exhausted, but she's like,
I've
like
been there.
I know, right? I hate being a griffin, but she's like, okay, like Mombi is like, what did I ever do to you, Glinda? Like, why would you pursue me like that? And Glinda's just like, you didn't do anything to me, but I'm pretty sure you did some really bad shit with Ozma and the Wizard of Oz. So, yeah, you have information, and if you abused your magic powers, I'm going to punish you.
Severely.
Yes. But she says it all very sweetly. She's kind in the way she's like, you know,
Very
I'll kill ya.
eloquent. So the Gump lands beside them, and Glinda's like, all right, we're getting in. So everyone gets in. They fly back to the camp.
Which I imagine is such an extremely awkward ride.
Oh, yeah.
Tip,
Because
who
it's
is
long.
It is. Oh yeah, because for at least at most 1 hour, they were running with the Gump not even being able to see them. So it's probably been at this the ride back, I would say, would be about 2 hours.
Yeah, how terrible. And like, what is knowing
Do you
how
think Tip and Mombi are catching up?
well, you know what? Knowing how these things go, like the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman are probably like, "Oh yes, you did it, Glinda. You've done such a magnificent job. You caught the hag." And like Mombi's just sitting there awkwardly, and Glinda's like, "Oh yes, well we all do well in our time, you know."
Tip's probably just crying. I'd be crying if
How
I was
traumatic.
Tip. Yeah, like he's probably even sitting next to her for no particular reason. I don't know what the Wogglebug's doing, but I just wanted to say that sounds so uncomfortable overall.
I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, after the super long awkward ride, they get back to the camp and they go back into Glinda's tent, which has been repaired during the long chase because, as you remembered, they ripped through the side of it like a whirlwind. But Mombi can't use any magic as long as Glinda's got her golden thread around her throat. So Glinda just starts her line of questioning right off the bat. And she's like, why did the wizard pay you 3 visits and where's Ozma?
Yeah. But Mombi won't talk, basically. She's just like, she's not talking.
And Glinda goes, answer me!
Yeah, yes, Glinda goes off. She's and at this point,
She's impatient.
yeah, well, and it's
There's
not,
a lot that's happened.
but she's not even impatient. She's been so patient over the last 2.5 days, where she was like, "Hey, give us Mombi. Okay, you lied to me. Now let us check for Mombi. Okay, we can't find her. Oh, she's a rogue." Like she's been so patient that I think it's wearing thin.
she's lost it.
And she's
She's
lost
Pissed.
it 100%.
Jack is like, well, maybe she doesn't know. And Tip is like, shut
Shut the fuck up.
Jack, you don't
Yeah.
even know what's going on. And if you say one more thing, I'm going to stomp on your little head.
Literally, Tip is like, you're gonna spoil everything, and Jack is just
Tip
like,
gets it.
yes, father.
Ew, that's
Poor
weird.
boy.
As Tip being 9 to 11,
I know,
is a
somewhere.
father.
Yeah, and he is, and maybe more. Who knows? But anyway, though, The Tin Woodman suggests that kindness is always the way to go. So we should just be kind to her and make her talk. And Mommy's just like scowling. Mommy's just like so annoyed by everything that's happening.
Yeah. She's like, what the hell is this? Like, I love the idea that like the main characters of the Oz books, they're like the Brady Bunch in Oz. Like in the Brady Bunch movie, how it's like they're so out of place.
Oh, yeah.
Like I feel like
But
everyone
they're
else,
always around in
Yeah.
every scenario.
Yeah.
It's like they don't actually need to be here.
I feel like everyone else is actually just like living a normal like medieval fantasy type life,
Yeah.
and then like they're just like, oh hello friends. Like I love that idea.
It's kind of true. 'Cause that's honestly how the last gang was too. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They're like stomping
And
around.
Half
They're like-
the gang is the same. You know?
Yeah.
Makes you think.
But Glinda tells Mombi that if she doesn't answer, Glinda is going to fucking kill her.
Yeah. She
Oh yeah, she
immediately
really,
threatens
really
death.
went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I'm just going to kill you if you don't talk.
Oh.
And the Tin Woodman is just like, oh, no. Oh, no,
yeah,
please. Please, no. But Glinda's just like, you know, this is a threat that I'm making to her. And I know I'm not going to have to like follow through because Mombi's not stupid and she's just going to tell us.
Mombi doesn't want to die.
Yeah. She's like, chill out. I told her that because it's true, but I know that I won't have to.
This is like right in front of Mombi.
Yeah, Mommy's just sitting there and she's like, okay, fine, I'll tell you.
I don't want to die.
Well, because she's like, what happens if I answer you? And she's like, you get to live, but I'm going to make you forget all the magic you ever learned.
Yeah.
And she's like, so like live or die, Mombi, what do you choose?
Yeah.
And Mombi chooses to live without magic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's like unhappy about it. She's like protesting, but Glinda's like, yeah, like I figured you'd want to live versus like die.
Honestly, well, and die in general, but also like Glinda's pissed.
Well, and also
she's going to die slow.
Also, Mombi is like, oh, like, then I'll just be an old woman who's helpless. And Glinda's just like, yeah, like, you know, how
You're
you
gonna
are like
die
now.
again, I
You're like
guess.
currently. Yeah, it's just too much.
But
I just
since
spit.
since Mombi agrees to a line of questioning, Glinda pulls out a pearl on a chain and she hangs it around Mombi's neck.
Yeah. And actually, two captains come in with a golden casket, which I imagine is being very much like the Ark of the Covenant from Indiana Jones. And they open up the casket, and yeah, there's a pearl.
Yeah, and they put it around her neck, and Glinda asks Mombi why the wizard paid her 3 visits, and Mombi's like, because I wouldn't go to him. And Glinda's like, no.
That's not an answer, bitch. And then Mombi's like, oh, he wanted to know how I make my tea biscuits. And Glinda just smacks her across the face. No, she doesn't. She doesn't actually smack her. But
I was like,
She
damn.
probably did, and Alfred
But
Plum just didn't tell us.
what
Yeah.
she says is she's like, what color is the pearl on my neck? And Mombi's like, it's black. And she's like, yeah, if it's black, that means that you're fucking lying to me because it only is white when people are telling the truth. So tell the truth to me. If you lie, we're going to know. And if you're lying, we're going to kill you is
What
the
a
implication.
Fun little
I know,
thing.
right? Just like, and such a cool, like, it's like,
Always wear that.
yeah, right? Yeah, Glinda should always have.
I
Maybe
want
like,
one in every color.
maybe it, like the charge runs out, like she has to like magically like prepare it. So there's a
Maybe.
but yes, I think it's a cool piece of magic for her to have, and it makes sense that she would have it. So then Mombi basically comes clean.
Yeah, she realizes, like, okay, well, it's futile to fucking try and fight this. And she says, all right, here's what happened. The wizard brought me the baby Ozma, and he begged me to conceal her.
And in exchange, the wizard taught her many magic tricks, which this is a big, like, you know, plot hole from the first book. It does say that many of them were frauds, but like some of them were very good magic tricks. So it's like, okay, like,
He could run
it's-
in.
In the last
one, I
book,
guess.
he says, I'm a very good man, but I'm a very bad wizard. So it's like, all of them should have been frauds. There shouldn't have been any real magic
Yeah.
that he taught her.
She-
A witch.
Yeah, exactly. The Wizard of Oz is just from Omaha, Nebraska.
But you know what? Who knows? Maybe the magic that he taught her was like, and believe in yourself and good things will come
Yeah,
to you.
I mean,
and then
he
she was like,
gave-
wow, that
he
really
gave
changed my life.
brains, courage, and a heart to people, and it,
Exactly.
quote, worked. So I guess in that regard, maybe there was some good magic.
Interesting.
Mombi, at that point, though, is just, well, I mean, she explains that, and Glenda's like, well, okay, yeah, great. What happened to Ozma? Like, tell us where Ozma is. And one thing we know about Mombi now is that she is very talented in transformations. and Mombi transformed him into something. And this is actually a guest prediction I didn't highlight in red like I usually do. Hannah, what do you think Mombi transformed Tip into? Or I mean,
oh my god,
Ozma into?
Okay, I got confused there for a sec. Ozma. Okay, well, I just have this in my head. A rose.
good guess.
Final answer?
Actually,
Because, like, she's not anywhere to be found, right?
That's true. No one's found her yet.
well,
And I'm just thinking it's just, like, it's such a thing that's,
It
like,
did
hidden
just
in plain
happen.
sight. It did just
Yeah.
happen, but I don't know.
I mean, it worked for Mombi.
It literally
Well,
could be. She literally turned into a shadow
Yeah.
before. It could be
Yeah.
anything.
Ozma could be anywhere.
Okay, I actually am going to change my answer, and I'm going to say a wall.
Okay, cool. She's the wall of the Emerald City. That's what but yeah, Glinda's like, what enchantment did you put on Ozma? And Mombi says that she changed her into.
Drum roll, please.
Everyone's like, into a what? And she screams, into a boy.
Naturally, everybody looks at Tip because Tip was raised by Ozma from the beginning, or raised by Mombi from the beginning.
You're getting names wrong left and right. And Mombi just nods and she points at Tip and she's like, this is the Princess Ozma, the rightful ruler of the Emerald City, which the wizard stole from her father.
I can't believe I didn't even see that coming.
Yeah.
Honestly, and Wyatt accidentally gave you the answer
You
a minute
did!
ago.
I did a
And I
bad
was like, oh, that confused me.
Rose.
Actually, a wall.
You're right. Sorry.
But I do have a question, because like, how long has it been? Ozma was a baby when the wizard took her, and Tip is like
Between
10.
9 and 11, yeah. 10.
So has Tip been aging accurately? Like, was it 10 years
Yeah, how
ago
long?
that the wizard killed Pastoria and took
he didn't
the Emerald
kill
City?
Pastoria, I don't
okay,
think.
okay. So Pastoria
don't
died of
know,
old
though.
age or something, and the wizard ruled the Emerald City for like 9.5 years, and nobody remembers that it wasn't green and that he didn't build it.
It fucks up the whole timeline. We can't hold it to any of that old timeline. But yes, based on just Tip's current age, that means that the Wizard of Oz arrived in Oz.
A decade ago?
At the most 10 years. Tip's been, you know what? No. Tip's been living with Mombi since he was young enough that he can't remember what happened to him before. Let's say that was since the year 4 years old. So that's been like
4 years old. You have no memory of what happened to you before. Is that right?
Well, was it erased?
I could read when I was 4.
We
If
all
she
could
was able
read
to
when we were
transform
actually-
him, she might be able to mess with his memory.
Honestly, the memory is totally erased because like Tip does not.
Yeah,
Tip
he
is
doesn't
not
know where he's
jiving with
from.
this. Tip is like, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy.
Yeah.
And Glinda's like, well, you're a boy right now,
but you were born a princess.
yeah. So
and
we're gonna need to get you back.
Yeah, you need to resume your original form.
Oh, this poor
to
boy.
rule. Yeah, and from my perspective, I'm like, why can't he just be the king or
Yeah,
the
just let
prince?
him be the prince.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
right?
Let him be the prince.
that's what he's used
It's at
to.
least it's still the right person.
But I guess they need the proof on one hand.
Fair.
Like, it's like, him, that boy I raised, he's
True.
actually Ozma. And it's like, Mombi, we're not going to let you just point out that boy you raised
Yeah,
to rule us.
that makes
So,
sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tip's like, please, like, let Ginger just be the queen of the Emerald City. Like, I want to be a boy. I want to explore
I don't wanna
Oz
do
with my
this.
homies. Like,
Yeah,
I just
he's
want
like,
to
I just want
play.
to know my friends. And the Tin Woodman is like, oh,
Doesn't
I guess-
want responsibilities. I get it.
and I get it too.
Ginger hates it too, and so does the Scarecrow,
Yeah,
and so did the
one's-
Wizard.
No one
Oh
has
my God.
enjoyed ruling
Actually,
that
yeah.
city.
Curse.
It's time. It's hope has come or something. What is it? There is change. What did Barack Obama say?
Yes,
I'm just thinking of the
change.
Hope poster.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. There we go.
That's how I feel about Ozma. I'm like, we need a new ruler.
Yeah, certainly. And why not an 11-year-old boy?
But what's the Tin Woodman say?
The Tin Woodman is basically just like, oh, like, it's not bad to be a girl. Like, we'll still be your friends and treat you the same. Like, honestly, like, girls are kind of nicer than boys sometimes. And the Scarecrow is like, oh, well, girls are just as nice as boys.
Well, the Scarecrow has a lot of trauma from being attacked by the women of Oz for the last week. So like, he's
That's
probably
true.
like I thought that was shady when I read it, and then I was like, he's probably kind of mad at girls right now.
The Wogglebug importantly mentions that girls are also equally good students and that he would love to tutor Ozma. after they transform. And Jack is like, wait, you won't be my father anymore. And Tip is just like,
Your
yeah,
mother.
good riddance to that role
like,
in my
"Fine
life. I don't want to be
by
your
me."
father. Like, Jesus.
Disowning him.
So Tip's like, all right, Glinda, like I'm willing to give it a try, but if I don't like it, you have to change me back.
Can't do it.
And yeah, Glinda's like, I wouldn't be able to do that because I'm a good and honest witch, so I can't do deceptive magic like transformations. Like Mombi's gonna have to change you back into Ozma, and then you're gonna have to stay that way because Mombi's not gonna have magic.
That's going to be
anymore.
her last act of magic. She's like,
Oh my
Mombi,
God.
your last thing you'll ever do magic is you have to turn him
This
back
is kind
into
of
her.
Traumatizing.
It is, yeah.
A little boy has to make a huge decision. Well, I mean, is being forced to make a huge decision in front of a
and
war.
then have these huge responsibilities thrown upon him.
Yeah. It's an insane situation. Like, I can't, if I was 10 years old and I just done everything Tip did, and then they were like, hey, you're actually a princess and we're going to turn you back into a girl now, I'd be like, oh, I'm actually in 4th grade and I've been a
I'm
boy
pretty
for a long
busy.
time.
I have some homework due
and
next
you know what?
week.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I just learned long division and I'm a year ahead, so I shouldn't even know that.
Honestly, I would be like Tip. I would be like, let me give it a try and see how I feel, and then
it would be
then we'll decide. But if
Yeah.
they were like,
If
it's
there's no-
irreversible, I'd be like, no.
Actually, no.
well, that's not what Tip
Well,
says.
that kingdom's gonna have to burn.
Tip agrees.
So since the truth about Ozma came out, like Mombi doesn't really care what happens to Tip, so she also agrees to do the magic to switch him back to Ozma. And Tip does agree, or does tell Mombi that like once he is Ozma again, he's the ruler of the Emerald City, he's gonna take care of her in her old age when she's just a magicless old woman.
Well, that's
Even
nice
though
of
she
him, I
was
guess.
horrible
Overly
to-
kind.
I know.
Yeah. Overly kind for sure. But
Yeah, and she kind of turned his whole entire world upside down.
yeah,
Way to
yeah,
give someone
she-
body dysmorphia.
Yeah, seriously.
Who was gonna
trans-
wipe your ass when you were an old woman if you turned him into a statue?
Well, Jack,
Fair.
but you know.
Splinters.
Oh no, he wears gloves. So Tip agrees, and they bring in this potion, which he drinks, and it's a potion of dreamless sleep, which is what we're drinking tonight as our drink. And it puts him into just a deep sleep. He's just fucking knocked out. It's done.
Glinda has her servants bring in her royal couch, which is piled with soft cushions and has these like gossamer curtains to like hide what's on the inside.
It's like a princess style bed,
Right.
but a couch,
And the
which
tin,
I kind of want.
and the Tin Woodman and the Wogglebug, they pick up the sleeping Tip and they put him on the couch and they pull down the curtains.
And as always, the magic is super fucking weird. I have a 6 bullet point list of the actions Mombi takes to perpetrate this spell, and it's just as weird as anyone. It's weird as all get out, I'll tell you that.
Let's hear it.
So Mombi first, she squats upon the ground and she puts together a little fire made of just like dried herbs. So the blaze shoots up and it burns clear. Mombi scatters a handful of magic powder on the fire, which immediately makes this like very like vibrant violet smoke that fills the whole tent with a fragrance. And the sawhorse sneezes, which is probably irrelevant. And then they're like, hey, shut the fuck up. Mombi starts chanting in a rhythmic verse. No one understands it. She 7 times bends her body over and away from the fire. And then she stands up, cries the word, Yawa, in a loud voice. And then all the vapor floats away. The atmosphere is clear again, and they can smell the fresh air. And then all of a sudden, the curtains of the little princess couch are trembling slightly, as if they're being stirred from within.
And Glinda goes and she opens the curtains and extends her hand, and a hand takes hers, and Ozma stands up off the couch.
Some pretty little nails.
She's gorgeous and in different clothes than what Tip was wearing.
Yes. I guess it's been what's waiting inside of her.
She's a beautiful young woman. She's already wearing a crown. She's wearing beautiful flowing robes.
It says her eyes are like 2 diamonds and her hair is a deep gold.
Everyone is stunned by the glamour.
Everyone's astounded, yeah.
So Tip was nothing.
You know, it's crazy because I always thought Tip was kind of like, 11-year-old hot.
like Disney Channel hot.
Yes, like if he was if I was 11 years old watching Tip as a cartoon on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, I'd probably like have a crush on him,
Oh my gosh.
We're allowed to say that. You guys can't DM us.
Because I was 11 when I did that. But yes, like Ozma is beautiful and Tip was nothing.
I was just picturing like a little blonde boy that like he's kind of irritating, and he's always in your business and stuff and asking really dumb questions.
Yeah, Tip is kind of like ornery, but like I don't know, he's a smart
mad
kid.
easily too.
He's just got a lot of PTSD and
frustrated.
shit.
I guess that's true.
I guess that's true.
Hard.
Now I'm like thinking about him, and
He's
I'm like,
just like he's like that angry kid that you all went to school with, and he just needed a little help. He needed a little nudge.
Needed a little hug, maybe.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, I mean, even while we know Tip, like he's being like not even judgmental. Like he's just being like. I don't know. He tells people what to do, and he's usually right. Like when Jack is talking, he's like, "Stop," and it's like that's curt, but it's correct. Like same with when the sawhorse is being a dick,
and when
whatever.
the Wogglebug makes a pun, he's like, "You shut the fuck up, and we'll throw you fucking overboard."
Exactly.
But at the root of that is like you're making people feel bad, and I don't like that.
Fair,
but. Either way, Ozma's here, everyone, and she's
and
wearing a big gossamer gown with silken robes.
She's gorgeous, and she's so
Is she
sweet.
9 to 11?
She's the same age, yeah.
See,
she is
I picture her as like a 17, 18,
That's what I'm
but she
picturing
must
right now.
also be a little girl. She's a little girl in the Return to Oz movie.
Oh yeah,
But
We'll get there.
Ozma's like, I hope that none of you will think any less of me. I'm still the same Tip, only, and Jack says, only
you're different.
Which
Okay, no one needs to hear that
everyone
negativity.
thought it was the wisest thing he'd ever said, and that's how the chapter ends.
And may I add that my last bullet point in my notes is, and Jack said, it's you, only you're different. And everyone thinks it's the wisest thing he said. Why? Like, why is that the wisest
Tell
thing?
me
Like,
why that's
it's
the way.
true.
Obviously,
Like,
he's different. We can all see with our own fucking eyes.
You know
I
what the
guess-
smartest thing Jack ever said was, "My head is a pumpkin; it will rot soon."
Yeah,
that's the smartest thing he ever
and
said.
he was right.
And he is right about that. And I'll make it rot sooner.
Yeah, you're gonna piss on it.
I will.
We all know that Hannah piss breaks down pumpkin flesh.
Yeah, it has the nitrates in it.
It's pretty powerful.
Acidic. But that is the end of chapter 23, titled by L. Frank Baum, Princess Ozma of Oz. And Blake, what would you call that?
I would call this chapter "Just Be Who You Wanna Be. Never let them tell you who you ought to be."
Chapter 24, The Riches of Content.
So, when Ginger finds out about Ozma, she freaks out. She's sobbing. She doesn't want to go back to being a normal girl who does chores. She's been a queen for the last 4 days.
Which is just so crazy. It's like, oh, okay, hey, the evil witch Mombi has been defeated and her powers are gone, and the rightful ruler of Oz, who was taken as a baby and transformed into a person of a different gender, she's gonna be able to be back on the throne. And then Ginger's having a fit.
Ginger has been saying her whole fucking
Doesn't seem
reason.
like she even wants to be there.
The whole reason she attacked the kingdom was because she was like, Oz has been ruled by men for long enough. It's
Yeah.
time for a woman ruler.
They literally
okay.
transformed someone
Yeah.
into a woman to be
Back-
the
back
ruler.
into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she was originally, but they could have kept her as a king, but they
Absolutely.
brought her
I
back.
think both the things are right, which is, yes, Ginger didn't like being the ruler, and one of her problems was that men have been ruling it. So it's like, oh great, that's a goodness that Ozma's able to be back. But she's just pissed because she doesn't want to go back to cleaning and cooking and churning
So
butter,
we know the real
etc.
reason.
Yeah, because I won't say she's lazy. I don't know what her home life is like, or if she's put into roles that she doesn't have an interest or like skill in.
It sounds like she
But-
just lives Dorothy's life. Like the whole book, they've been saying like, send her back to her mother, have her darn socks,
That's
and
interesting,
milk the
actually.
cows. It's like she's literally doing what Dorothy does every day and couldn't wait to get back to.
Yeah.
But the army is like, you should resist. So Ginger's like, yeah, I should resist. And so she's like, hey, Glinda, we're resisting.
Glenda's mad. I
She
can already
is.
sense it because she's been going through a lot lately, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm gonna deal with
Glenda's
this fucking
like-
bitch now."
She just wants to go back to the south.
Yeah. So in response to that, Glinda's just like, okay, well, this means war, bitch. Like,
Yeah, she declares war and they march on the Emerald City. But all the doors are closed. You know, all the doors.
she's had all the doors barred. There's no way into the city.
The Wogglebug is just like, okay, well, let's just siege the city and starve everyone. Like, they'll starve
wait
because
out
they don't
there.
have food coming in, which is obviously the right, well, not the right answer, but a right answer,
it's
which is
like-
like
It's definitely easier because then get them to starve, and then when they decide to come out, they're
Yeah.
too weak to fight.
Stalingrad, anyone?
In like a normal, in a normal war, great tactic. Alternatively, what does the Scarecrow come up with?
Oh no!
He's like, well, we could just fly in, you know, because we have the Gump.
They decide that they're going to use the Gump to get into the city. And so Glinda has one of her captains and 4 of her soldiers get into the Gump, and they fly in. And Ginger's just lounging in a hammock, reading a novel, eating chocolates. So with
Green chocolates, may I add. For some reason, they are green.
Oh,
CBD,
right. Green
Yeah.
chocolates, yeah.
CBD.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, they just very easily arrest her because she's caught off guard and just chilling reading a
Yeah.
book.
She didn't think that they'd be able to get in, so she is fully surprised.
She is
And-
okay.
And it's so
You
stupid.
know, maybe women shouldn't be in charge of an army.
It makes
Well,
you wonder, right?
you know
they're
what?
unpredictable. They're
I don't
sorry.
know.
I don't know if the fault lies on Ginger or if the fault lies on Ginger's army because, yeah, Ginger wasn't doing anything. She should have been commanding her army, but they're the ones who said, don't back down. Let's keep the Emerald City. And then literally as soon as Ginger gets arrested, they all surrendered. And they're like, okay, it's over.
Well-
And it's like, why weren't you guys fighting for your
Betrayal.
fucking city?
Two things. First of all, and I think this bears mentioning, they were all making fudge. The entire army was just making fudge
they were
this whole
just
time.
way too
That's
busy. They were
mentioned in the
way
book.
Too busy.
The other thing, they see Ginger being hauled away, and then they're like, oh, our fearless leader, she's been captured. Now we'll surrender too. Which, on one hand, I get, but I'm also like, why? Like, they collectively have more power than fucking Ginger. Ginger's never done anything for them, other than apparently organize them, I guess.
Ginger
but-
literally, all she did was made a Facebook group
Yeah.
event, and then everyone showed up, and then she got to be in
It
charge
was
forever.
just like
Yeah,
that,
because she was the creator.
that rush on Area 51 or
right,
whatever.
exactly.
that's right.
And I was actually, I
Uh,
was definitely there, and I actually got pictures inside.
I ran, and they had the ships.
So yeah, the army of revolt surrenders, and the captain and soldiers that went in to arrest Ginger, they are able to safely just march back to the gates and let Glinda's army in. And when Glinda's army comes in, they're like, okay, yeah, this is all fucking over. And the men of the Emerald City, if you remember, they were like doing all the chores, they were doing all the cooking. So they're like, yay, like it's over, we're free. And the women are also like, yay, it's over. Like we don't have to eat our husband's shitty cooking and like
Yeah.
have to like deal with cleaning that's not satisfactory to us. And the
Story of
women,
my life.
right? And the women rush into the kitchens and they prepare delicious feasts for the celebration.
Yeah. And at this point, Ozma is restored to the throne of her ancestors in the Emerald City. She is where she belongs.
We need
ruling
like
above
victory
them.
horns.
Yeah. Yeah. And they are also, there's music playing. There's
What's that? It's like it's the music
merrymaking.
at the end of Star Wars every time they succeed, and it's like
Oh,
I can't remember how it goes.
The
but
Imperial March, you know,
Yeah.
or something like that.
It goes hard.
Yeah,
Well, that's playing here,
At the
but-
end of every Star Wars movie, it's like bomb, 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 bomb. Isn't that the Imperial March?
Oh, that is the Imperial March.
I might have been wrong. I don't know.
But yeah, the army of revolts disbanded. Ozma's on her throne. All the emeralds and gems were
They
put
want the
back where they
gemstones
belong.
back. Yeah, they're like, give those fucking back. And the royal jewelers, over the course of like weeks, are just like refitting the stones
took, like,
into
a
the walls
full
and
month.
shit. And all the rebels just sent home to their mothers, insanely, including Ginger, on the promise of good behavior. And it's like, so you were a rebel general who rose up took control of Oz, became the dictator essentially
And
of
now
the
we've
city.
given you a reason to have a grudge against us.
Yeah. So now go home to your mother, where you already hated and who you cried about having to go back to. Or she could get married or have a career, But whatever. I don't know her. So
Ozma goes on to be a great ruler. She invites the Wogglebug to become the public educator of the City of Emeralds. And when the job's too difficult and Ozma's stumped on what to do, he also helps her out because she's young and inexperienced.
yeah, and she also
Cute.
takes counsel from Glinda. Her and Glinda are tight, and she's like, "Hey, Glinda, I got some shit I gotta do," and Glinda just gives her good advice. But the Wogglebug is there, for the more
Ozma and Glinda are
those kinds of issues.
BFFLs.
Yeah,
And then because of his bravery and valiance, Ozma offers the Gump anything he wants, and he says, "Please take me
just
apart."
take me apart. Yeah, he was like, "I used to be the king of the forest, and now I'm an absolute dumpster fire.
I'm a monster.
Take me apart. I hate this." And so they do. They put the broom back, they put the sofas back, and they just rehang his head in the hall.
Yeah,
And he's happy with that.
Well, he stays alive, and
His
he
head
can
stays alive.
He can talk to people when they're waiting in the lobby.
So he doesn't mind that. He has a good time.
Yeah.
He'd
least
rather
he's-
be part of a Gump than a garbage furniture
That's
thing.
the thing. Yeah, now he's
Okay.
just
as long
a
as
gump.
he's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, me too, honestly, because he didn't deserve anything that happened
No,
to him.
he didn't. There's a lot.
He accepted it in a way that I would not have been able to.
Yeah.
And then Ozma, actually, she keeps the sawhorse as her steed. And she has his
Interesting
legs.
choice.
She has his legs fixed with golden plates so they won't
Oh.
wear down.
And she just
Okay.
rides him through the city.
And actually, something that kind of frustrates me. The people of the Emerald City, they see the gold on the sawhorse as evidence of Ozma's great magical powers. Why do the people of the Emerald City need a magical ruler so bad? They're like, yeah, the wizard, he had a balloon. He's magic. He's fucking magic. What did Pastoria do? Burp real big?
What I will say is the prior rulers of the East, West, North, and South have all been magic.
Quite.
Now, obviously.
So it's just what they know.
Yeah, exactly. It's the evil witches are dead now, so it's different. But when the Wizard of Oz came to Oz, there was a magic witch with evident powers in all the four corners of their land. Yeah. So
I
makes
just think
sense.
it's very similar to the previous book where it's the Wizard of Oz told us to build this city, and we just think he's magic and he created this with his magic. Similarly, it's Ozma hired us to cast her horse's legs in gold, and
And
we
now it's
said that was
magic.
magic.
But to be fair, Ozma/Tip did bring him to life with a magic powder.
That's true.
And create
And she did the
ears
Misca
for
Musca
her.
Mickey Mouse all by herself.
Yeah,
she
so
used
she
magic.
actually did. So that's I hadn't thought about that until this moment as I'm saying it. But so she kind of did do the magic, but they're
True.
blowing it out of proportion. I agree
Yeah.
with the sentiment of that.
It's really anyone
criticism.
could do that if they just get a hold of it.
Yes, exactly. And then maybe someone else will be able to find those magic pills before,
Yeah, well, the
before they're
jackdaws
flying
will
in the
eat
real
them.
world.
Yeah.
Oh God, what did the jackdaws do
Now,
with those?
Guys,
Yeah, how
we've
do they
gotta,
digest it?
We've got to tone it down and get a little sad here. I don't know if this will be so sad for Hannah because, I don't know, you're kind of a hater. But Jack stays with Ozma until the end of his days.
Which it was longer than he had feared. He lived longer than he expected.
But apparently
He was
he
mad about
does
it.
eventually die.
He dies
Because of his head?
yeah.
His head spoils
His head
and
rots.
he dies with it.
He fucking
And the
called
text
it.
tells us though he stays the text tells us though he stays stupid forever.
Yeah.
He never gets any smarter, and he's always
So
a
Elfring Bum
fucking
hated him
idiot.
too.
Yes.
so.
Yeah, he gave him a fate worse than
Yeah,
death, which
you know,
is eternal stupidity and then death.
Stephen King said kill your favorite. L. Frank Baum said kill the worst.
Yeah. Like, no, thank you, honey. But yeah, so Jack is dead. But once peace was restored, Glinda went back to the south with her army. The Tin Woodman was going to go back to the west, where he belongs. He invited Ozma to visit anytime that she wanted, and she agrees. But she's like, well, what's the Scarecrow going to do? And the Scarecrow has decided to go live with the Tin Woodman in the west, and he decides that they shall never be parted again in the future. sounds a little gay to me.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean,
my
that's
truth.
what I kind of just. I'm fine with that. I'm not a big fan of the Scarecrow, but I think the Tin Woodsman deserves all the happiness.
And honestly, not to like cry nepotism, but the Scarecrow goes to the land of the Winkies and becomes their treasurer because he's full of money. He's full of money that the Tin Woodman stuffed inside of him.
Yeah.
So
He just
I don't
becomes
think
the
that's very
treasurer
fair.
because he just like got
He's
made
of
with money.
I promise
They'll never
you,
go
you do
broke.
not want him as your treasurer.
No. And there's some wordplay in that whole section.
Yeah, just a little fun.
Yeah.
The Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman are saying their goodbyes to the Princess Ozma, and they're talking about how, like, you know, the Scarecrow values his brains and the Tin Woodman values his heart, and they think that it's more impressive than money, and they think that they're rich in brains and hearts.
Yeah, whatever you like to say.
Right. Well, Ozma clarifies, and she's like, "You're both rich, my friends, and your riches are the only riches worth having. And I would call those the riches of content."
And that's literally the last
That's
line
it.
of the book.
That was a direct quote. So she's just saying, yeah, I'm glad you guys are happy. That's all you should ever ask for. And I guess they're happy. They've done a lot.
I mean, yeah.
They found each other again. That's what matters.
Yeah,
That
and
is
they
what
have.
matters. And yeah, it seems they're both happy in their roles. So
But that is the end of chapter 24, which is entitled The Riches of Content. And Blake, what would you call that chapter?
I'm not going to call that chapter. That's just an epilogue. I'm not going to think of a fancy name for that. That's an epilogue.
That sounds like a cop-out, and so we'll go ahead and
So
go
that's
to
the chapter
our-
name.
They were like,
it's an
they were
epilogue.
like, and then the story ended, and here's where everyone ended up after. Like, that's a fucking epilogue. Like, call it. You shouldn't have even called it the riches of content. That was the most important part of that whole chapter. It's the epilogue. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ellie. I'm sorry, Ellie. Ellie, Frankie.
To be honest, looking back at chapter 23, and Jack is... Jack
23
says,
was insane.
23 was insane. That could have been the end.
Plot
It
twist.
literally ended with Jack saying,
After
and you're the
plot
same
twist.
as always. It was good to know she's the queen, though. Or the princess now.
and she's
But-
doing a good job.
Yeah, I
Yes.
guess I'm glad that she's happy because that's all I want.
And the
as well.
Gump. There's a lot to unpack, actually. But it went quick because it was just summary, you know. So now that we have finished our second book from the Wizard of Oz series, we probably should play a game. A game quite familiar to us in the Pacific Northwest and various other regions, I assume.
Yeah, we always play this as a family in the Pacific
Yeah,
Northwest.
when I'm like 5 years old, my family's like, let's play Fuck, Marry, Kill. Just kidding. That's not a character.
All right, Grandma, cousin Betty, or Uncle Tom.
All right, no. You're thinking of somewhere else in the United States.
My
which I won't
family's from
mention.
Alabama.
Okay, see, I was trying to avoid that. But yes, let's play some Fuck, Marry, Kill, some good old-fashioned school bus type game. And Hannah, I'm so sorry. Well, really for all of us, because we'll all answer. But the prompts for this are going to be somewhat inhuman and inhumane. Not because they're children, although there are many in this. The contestants are Jack Pumpkinhead, who is a child, essentially, actually. The Sawhorse, also pretty much a child.
Stop calling them children.
Sorry, you're right. They're not like that, but they've only been alive for a short amount of time, weeks. Or the Gump, who's like an old man. So again, that is
The Gump's a ghost of an old man
Yeah.
in the body of a child.
Is it the Gump
as the thing.
Okay.
So again, that is Jack Pumpkinhead, the Sawhorse, and the Gump as the thing,
Oh God, this
including
is really
both couches.
just difficult because like they all just kind of hate their lives, and I don't want to like be married to any of them. I'll fuck. Actually, this is so difficult. Okay. Let me. Okay. So I think that I'll kill Jack. Yeah.
Why?
I just wouldn't. The idea of having sex with something. I I don't know actually because the other ones I don't.
So you're telling me the Gump or the Sawhorse?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
They are top of your list
Okay,
to
okay.
have intercourse with.
Everyone here is made of wood. Everyone on this line is made
Also,
of wood.
when I was a kid, I used to go pretty hard on some couches. It's private information. Okay, so yeah, you know what? I'm going to fucking kill Jack Skeleton. I'm going to
Jack Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, Jack.
Same vibe though.
Yeah,
didn't
same
know.
energy. Jack Pumpkinhead. I'm going to fuck Goomba.
The Gump.
I keep on wanting to call him Goomba.
You finally got your chance.
Okay. Fuck the Gump, and then marry the seahorse. Or the
Sawhorse. You didn't. Not a single name came out right. So to recap, you would kill Jack Skellington, marry the seahorse, and kill the Goomba.
Wait, what book did we just read? Alice
I
in
think
Wonderland?
That was closer to like, I don't know, ocean with
Yeah, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea meets The Martian Chronicles.
meets Mario.
Meets Mario.
yeah, that's my final answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strong
I would
answers.
probably...
I'd do a variation on
I
that.
would probably fuck Jack Pumpkinhead because like he's dumb and skinny. Like I've done that before. I know how every part of that works. I would probably marry the Sawhorse because we have very similar personalities, and I think he'd be fun to bicker back and forth with. And I guess that means I would kill that absolute terrible dumpster fire that is the Gump. Oh, sorry. Got some
Crickets.
Gump fans in here.
Crickets.
No,
here.
I would do the exact same thing, but for slightly different reasons. I mean, I would kill the Gump because he wants to be dead. He's told everyone that he is like didn't want to be alive and that he's only here to do like what he was brought here to do.
But Jack kind of feels the same way too.
I mean,
But what if-
except he's so afraid of dying that it's like he has like this like other complex. Like
But-
he's like
What if what the Gump was actually brought here to do was a great night in bed and no one's given him the opportunity?
well, what does that look like when all you have is a reindeer head, 2 couches, and a broom?
Just, I don't know, like tell him where to go.
I could go off on a couple of those items.
Yeah, I could just hump the couch.
It's the Gump head. I know it's the Gump head for both of you.
Honestly, after American Horror Story Coven, an animal head isn't so bad.
Yikes. Stop.
The remainder of my answer is that I would marry the Sawhorse because I'd want to ride him around, and he's free transportation. I don't think he would mind. And I would kill. I would fuck Jack Pumpkinhead because he's the closest thing to being a facsimile of a human. I don't think he'd really understand what was happening, which is unfortunate because I don't really know how that would work with his body.
Yeah.
And he, oh God, it makes me want to say I would kill him. Honestly.
What would I do? What would he do to me?
Well, what would the Gump do to you? Can I ask?
He
There's
could kick
things.
those little legs.
He can't. He doesn't have legs. The legs are asleep.
He kicks those little legs. Oh, the Gump.
The Gump.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking
Who you
Sawhorse.
both chose. No, you didn't choose, actually. It was just Hannah. But at any rate, that's my choice. Jack would. I would fuck Jack.
Don't we just love
And
that
he's
game?
tall. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, not for me. I'm not really into that. But
Because you are tall.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know a lot of people taller than me.
Well,
I'm only
Hannah,
6 feet tall. For everyone in the audience, I'm not freakishly tall.
He's not a monster.
Well, out of curiosity, we're 2 books in out of 14, so 12 to go. What's your favorite so far? The Wonderful World, or The Wonderful Land of Oz? No.
Wait.
Oh my God. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz or The Marvelous Land of Oz?
Well, there's one story. I mean, I didn't know everything about the first Wizard of Oz, but I had an idea. So I've kind of already known that story for such a long time that this is like new. The second book is like new information to me. And there's twists and turns and stuff.
Much more
and,
shocking.
Yeah, like the tip thing really threw me off. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, and honestly, like with seeing how these, I guess this is how I'll be like kind of viewing the books from here on out too now, because it's just like, it always is just like this group of friends that get together in the weirdest possible fucking way, and then they go down these little journeys, and then they go on sidetracks where all this crazy shit happens, and then they come back, and it's like, it just always is that. But I think with this round, I would say that I really like the second book better.
Cool.
Than
I think
the
that
first
makes
book.
complete sense.
Yeah.
And you'll see that pattern of friends come together and journey through. I guess that's probably an accurate way to describe almost any story, but that is very much Wizard of Oz format too.
Absolutely.
I
I mean,
like
this
children's
one,
book
this one
format.
so far has been my favorite to read over the first one, but it's been my least favorite to talk about.
I also
over
feel
the
like in
first
this
one.
book, I learned a lot more about Oz, like the place
Oh.
and
Yeah,
like the
true.
type
It
of.
gets-
I mean, we did learn some stuff in the first one, but this one, it's just like, I mean, we learn. I mean, even though it doesn't really add up with like
Well, let's just
how
pre-
the kingdom started.
Just
but-
pretend the first book didn't happen.
The thing is just overwrite the information. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, here's new information. This is what's true. Okay, forget what that conflicts with, like.
Yeah.
But I like that we delve into the history of it and kind of the what happened before, because it answers questions that I feel like I didn't have, like,
Yeah.
I mean, and also I really like the close look we get at Glinda. I like getting a little more of just like, just like leaving all, it gives us a lot. And I will say the next couple of books give us an unprecedented and unasked for view of many things.
Yeah.
So,
And also, I'm really excited about like some of the like weird gangs of heroes that we get in the upcoming books. Like
Yeah.
even like the next book, I love the characters in more than I feel attached to these characters.
Yeah.
And they're all in Oz, so we'll see them again. But
yeah. Well, and they're in different worlds too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just many people that we're going to meet, including names like Button Bright.
oh,
Button Bright.
All right.
Button Bright. But yeah, we'll get to there.
all right.
But-
Well, that was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please subscribe on your preferred streaming service and join us next time to start Book 3, Ozma of Oz. That's right, the girl that we just met. Oz Hour, created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swangham. Co-hosted by Hannah Aguirre. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas.